Just maybe, I don't know. As we are waiting for other people to join in, maybe it makes sense, Jyoti, if we start actually by discussing the questions you want to address. So, I've sent you the presentation that directly answers kind of your questions from our end. I realize you're biased, but it should help and does help. Um, and so our plan for this call was to kind of go through the proposal, well, quickly, relatively, and then just open up for discussion and questions. So, that's the idea. Now, you guys are probably familiar with the proposal so far and its interpretations and its things. So it may make sense to kind of dive deeper. So, what do you think, Jota?
Hello. Yeah. No, I mean, so for me, because I don't have the technical level to understand the proposal, so I don't know if this is a discussion between experts to kind of come to an assessment. But for me, what is critical as a voter, so as a, let's say, a business person, and not a technical person, or at least a very superficially technical person, is to understand the trade-off. So you send me a document where you express the trade-off, but it seems a little bit biased because you say something like, I don't remember exactly how it's expressed, but it seems like this is better than every other alternative, you know. So usually the trade-off, a proper trade-off will be something where you say, for example, how would you imagine the world without this? Sorry, I couldn't read your document because I was in another call, yeah? So I know you sent it with the prior art and projected prior art, etc. But I didn't manage to read it because I was in back-to-back calls. But the idea would be basically, what will break? So because, for example, you say parachains need it. Okay, but what if parachain don't get it? So, I mean, how it will change, let's say, my personal user experience as a user if parachain don't have it? What would be done differently? So it's like if I say, should we build roads with tar or just like, you know, dirt roads? And you say, well, your car will probably shake a lot if you. So now you understand, you know, if the government say, do you want to pay more of your tax money to build nice roads with tar instead of just dirt roads? And I say, what's the difference? I say, well, if you have dirt roads, your car will shake a lot. And I'm like, okay, then I want to pay. So what is the
Understood.
practical difference?
Understood. So yeah, we can dive exactly in that level of detail and then dive in more and dive in more. Okay, so welcome everyone. I think we should kick off. It's 6 minutes off, so not to waste everybody's time. We have shared on several channels the presentation on the NFT XCM proposal, and I think that is the format we want to use to walk you guys through it in our eyes and to talk more about details and kind of the really critical things that Jota is raising and others are raising, and then we open up for questions and discussions. So if you guys don't mind, we can kick off. So to start off, the kind of overall concept, what the proposal is about. It's about adding capability to Polkadot to seamlessly exchange NFTs between different parachains. Polkadot is just a relay chain. It doesn't do anything. Parachains do stuff. When you do stuff, you want to the difference between Polkadot and every other chain, Ethereum or Solana or any other, is that Polkadot is a relay chain. It doesn't do stuff. In Ethereum, if you want to send an NFT to one application to another from a smart contract that created it to use it in a game, you just seamlessly do it. In Polkadot, you cannot because you have created a game on Moonbeam or on a Una, and then you want to kind of put it in a DeFi context to get uh, to use it as collateral. And for that, you have to send that NFT to a DeFi chain because Iuna does not have DeFi, and so on. So this problem of sending NFTs between different parachain exists only on Polkadot. If you think about it, in Ethereum space, it would exist on layer two chains. It would exist on Matic, for example, or on Optimism and things like that. Because if you want to use Ethereum NFTs on those, you have to lock them somehow. You have to bridge them, and the same way you bridge ETH from Ethereum to those layer two chains. That's the equivalent of XCM. It's those bridges. And NFTs in Polkadot, you cannot send this way in a decentralized, secure way. I think there might be one or two custom centralized solutions for that. I know that Aventis guys have wanted to do something like that for they have gotten IP for Wolf of Wall Street movie and wanted to do something around that, but I haven't heard them actually doing it. They said they created a centralized bridge around that, but that's centralized bridges are unsecure and they are not Web3, simply as that. They are a custom solution to one thing. So what we have embarked to do is to create a solution that is very generalized. It works for, I have to always say nearly, but everybody. So nearly everybody in the Polkadot ecosystem. And this is a topic for another discussion. I've been preparing some materials around Polkadot NFTs, but Polkadot NFTs are also very fragmented. We have at least 4 known different NFT palettes in use, in production, and there might be even more that I don't know about. I've been struggling to just get everybody to give us information on that, but at least 4 different substrate palettes are in use, and they each have their own differences. They all work in a similar fashion, but they are different. And then you have Ink and EVM smart contract capabilities that are also used to make NFTs. There are actually other NFTs in the ecosystem. You have Remark. They have retired their old standard and they have moved to EVM. So if we do this stuff for EVM, they will be covered as well. But you have the inscriptions things that's floating around. But since they are inscriptions, they cannot use XCM by definition. So they will have to do their own thing because they are a very custom kind of hack type of a solution. They're not kind of what is intended by Polkadot. So the idea is to create a general solution for everybody. What we have done, what's important to underline is that we have actually done it already. We have done the research that's necessary and proof of concept. So actual first NFT XCM has already happened as of December 20th. And what is the scope of this proposal is to cover the cost of what's been already done, and then to actually have a production release. I would call that a beta release of the product on all kind of willing parachains that have NFT capability. We can do it for all of them, all of those listed, and most of them have come forward very interested in it. That includes Astar, that includes Moonbeam, that includes Ayuna, that includes Moonsama, that includes let's see. Well, BitCountry guy says, "Yeah, please go ahead, do it. Thanks very much." Who else was the Centrifuge guy said not only we need that, but we also want a vault which is another standard. Simply, it's another type of asset. And then, so the parachains are very much in for it, and they have all come forward and made official comments, well, public comments in the proposal itself. You can see that. That is basically the main idea. Now, talking about what is currently available. As I said, currently available, there may be. I think Invark guys have been making some custom kind of centralized bridge or bridge that works through EVM smart contracts on both ends, which is a solution that works for their D app, and that's it. I cannot use it. Asset Hub guys cannot use it. Nobody else can use it besides that. So it's a very custom one-on-one solution. They're cool guys. They know what they're doing. They've done that for a specific person. But if in that case, taking kind of Jota's want for clarity, which is perfectly kind of appropriate in this, you would need for every kind of project you want to move around the NFTs for, you would have to hire a couple of Solidity guys and spend, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 grand for each D app to actually do it that way. And it will work for that. You will learn over time, but that will be, Solidity smart contracts handling things. And again, that won't be useful for parachains that do not have EVM, and many of them don't, including Asset Hub, including, I think, Iuna guys don't have of EVM, and many others don't as well. So it is a very custom partial solution. There are external bridges, Snow bridges, and the Snow Bridge, and so on, but they are designed to work to connect Polkadot ecosystem with the external world, with other blockchains, with Ethereum, with whatever, and and I haven't really seen. Last we checked 6 months ago, 3 months ago, so on, their NFT capabilities did not really exist, or were very, very limited. So actually, to get NFT capability through bridges is fairly hard. In Polkadot, it's actually comparatively easy. In bridges, to get that done, you need millions and millions of dollars, and you need, a long time. In Polkadot, we have already, again, done it, and in 6 to 9 months, all the parachains will be able to have it. The rest of the time, money needed is for tooling, so that you can have mass adoption of that bridge. But the bridge itself will be done kind of for everybody in 6 to 9 months time frame. There is also recently team on Asset Hub, and actually started by Guy Sergey, who lives here in Belgrade, where I am, where Daniil is as well. So we're going to kind of touch base and kind of sync up on things we're doing. But as Daniil said to me this morning, and before, what they're doing is being able to send, what they do is only one function: send the NFTs that were created on Asset Hub to other parachains, I guess. So Daniil, kind of correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yeah, that's right. That's
But what they cannot do is they cannot do anything with NFT that has been created elsewhere. And there's over 1 million NFTs in Polkadot ecosystem right now that are not on Asset Hub. And on Asset Hub, you have maybe, I don't know how many are there, but probably a few thousand. So that would solve only a very small fraction of the ecosystem. It's not a generic solution. So that's why approaching this proposal, we're saying without what we are proposing, Polkadot will simply not have the NFT interoperability. It will have, hacks and patches and very partial solutions. It will not have what it promised in its white paper. That's the way I see it. Now, why do we see the need for the NFT XCM? We see it on two levels. So the first level is on generic. Again, Polkadot considers interoperability as one of its core value propositions, and that's why they've designed the blockchain that way, that they are a relay chain and there's a number of parachains that are interoperable between each other. And kind of NFT interoperability is, for us, a very, very big part of that promise. Now, somebody can disagree. Somebody can say we can live without NFTs. That's fine. But I think that in other ecosystems, NFTs can be between 10, 20, 25% of their transactions and value created to 100% in some cases. So I'm talking about flow and maybe mutable X and so on. So, the Polkadot, the NFTs are important, and we consider it part of Polkadot's interoperability promise, which is not yet fulfilled. Now, as for specific use cases, if you dive in, I have given in the presentation just some examples. The most obvious one, and first two are most obvious for me. Again, to do, if somebody creates a valuable collection on some chain, they will want to do stuff with that collection. They will want to have games with that collection. They will want to have, just like Aventis approached this kind of, they probably spent $1 million or a few on acquiring IP for Wolf of Wall Street. And then to justify that IP, you need the bigger ecosystem. You cannot kind of have something like that in a very, in a small one parachain. You have to get that IP into the hands of DeFi people, and you cannot have strong DeFi ecosystem in every parachain. Jota, you have raised your hand. I'm sorry, I've just noticed that. Please go ahead.
No, so because you use this term like, I think there is some echo, but it's fine. So you use this term interoperability, but for me, it's just an abstract word, and I don't really understand what it means. So on a practical level, as a user of Polkadot, how does it change my life if this thing is there or not? So how does it affect me directly, this lack of interoperability?
Sure. So let me take you back, about 30 years or more, 35. Before internet became what it became, you had intranets, right? Those were corporate and kind of university and military networks. So you had networks that worked inside of one company or inside of a military unit or inside one university. The reason why internet has become so valuable to everybody's life was interoperability, because they have opened up the networks and agreed on HTTP protocol that basically allowed different networks to work with each other. The value of the internet, which is trillions and trillions of dollars in today's economy, is because they have opened up. When you read white paper or any communication from Polkadot people, you always see that word. And what that word means is that you take every blockchain you have, which now operates as a nation state, basically, in separation from everybody, having very, having big customs duties and procedures. It's expensive, slow, and everything to work on stuff between different blockchains. But when you have full, easy interoperability, it becomes a European Union. You do not have to have a visa to go from Italy to another country in EU. You do not have to exchange money to do it. You do not have to pass the border. You just drive through as if it's any other road, right? So that process of EU combination integration is exactly the best kind of analogy for the value that interoperability gives. So the bigger the scale of the addressable market you can address, the more value you can create. You can have economies of scale for certain things, and you can find customers in other parts of the world. And it's exactly like that happening these days. You see Manta Network that started on Polkadot, and I don't remember where they kind of created their alternate versions, but they are getting a lot of traction because they found a lot of users on another place, right? In another country, on another blockchain. Same thing here. Polkadot's parachains, there are how many, 50 of us, they all have their own community. A lot of that community is kind of same people, but a lot of them are not. A lot of parachains do different things. Again, you cannot take and except with the exception maybe of Moonbeam and Astar, you do not have parachains that have NFT and DeFi capability in one chain. Well, okay, Akala does have NFT palette, but I don't think it has any NFT projects on it. So you cannot create a viable working economic utility for those tokens. You cannot because you cannot move them around. So if we want to take the best example for you, probably would be a games for debt. Okay, if you want to kind of issue NFTs. Where do you issue those NFTs and how do you go about that? What you want to do, most likely, is create, I don't know, the initial collection by the original team that will be kind of the official one, and then allow everybody else to do stuff on their own. Make games, make I don't know. Put them on marketplaces, have them fractionalized, or have them exchanged. Well, use them as collateral for getting debt tokens, or other way around. Whatever. Having swaps between NFTs and the debt tokens, etc., etc. You cannot do that almost anywhere in Polkadot. You cannot do that on Asset Hub because you don't have that capability there. You don't have those ecosystems. You have them in other parachains. You cannot have that even on the biggest of parachains. You cannot accomplish that because the biggest parachain in Polkadot has only 10% of Polkadot. Okay, in terms of users, in terms of applications, and so on. Moonbeam probably has the most applications and most, the projects on it, but it still has 10% or less of everything. So they don't have dynamic NFTs. They don't have, all kinds of stuff. So the point there is that interoperability allows any kind of project to have a bigger market, easily addressable market. So just like internet allowed people to sell their stuff globally, right? You can sell movies globally if you want. You can sell music. You can sell whatever without kind of having to travel anywhere or do anything much. Same thing here. If it expands your for every project in place, it expands the target market from a very small one or a relatively small one to the whole ecosystem. I'm not talking about going then to other external blockchains. That's the problem for another day. But I think that if we solve things step by step, that will come too. So The idea is if to be interoperable with other chains as well, and to integrate the XCM fully with that. So does that answer the question? Are you kind of are you able to get the importance of it?
So not really, because it seems too abstract. So, but let's try to look at a practical example. So you say Dead makes an NFT. So Dead will make an NFT on Asset Hub. So what it cannot do already? So it cannot give it as collateral, maybe to some other chain. What is the actual issue? Because you use generic example like internet, but I need something practical. So what is it that I cannot do? So I open my computer, I do something on some parachain. What is it that now I cannot do and tomorrow I can do? But it has to be practical. So you have to tell me today, if you make an NFT on, I don't know, on a Dead makes an NFT on a setup, it cannot do that. What is the thing that it cannot do? Hello?
Alex, you're on mute.
Sorry, yeah. You cannot make a game with that NFT. You cannot make.
But so let's be more practical. So why? I mean, there are many games already.
Where?
So explain. Yes.
Where are they?
I don't like, for example, there is a game like, was it The Great Escape? I think that I'm not sure what it does exactly, but games exist. So
no, but where are those games? They are not on Asset Hub. That's my point. So
okay, so maybe so what? So there is no games create NFT. So what can they do now? So the game choose to make the NFT not on Asset Hub, and the benefit is sell it on an exchange, for example. So let's say today there is a game that has an NFT on its own parachain, and it would like to sell it on Hydra DX, and today it cannot. Tomorrow it can. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So basically, let's say someone makes NFT marketplace on some parachain, and someone makes a game with NFT. Today it will not be possible to do this.
That's correct.
Okay, that seems like a good use case, then a clear benefit.
Yes, it is. So basically, the EU and countries kind of comparison is good because it's very down to earth. You cannot, it's like you don't have an export license you don't have roads to export your, production from Italy to, I don't know, Slovenia. You cannot kind of, because there are no roads, okay, and there are no rules for whatever. Customs or things like that. So it basically allows interstate commerce on NFTs. And again, the use cases are many. The creating of metaverses and so on. So for me personally, the interoperability kind of word is extremely kind of, it's very clear and understandable. That's why I'm in Polkadot, because again, internet became what it became because it was open standard and anybody could join in, and because it's easy. And that was made possible by standards that define how different networks between work with each other. So today you have very few internal networks, closed networks. They're just for high security stuff. But internet is trillions and trillions of dollars. That's what Gavin promised to everybody. That's why they have this structure that Polkadot does only mining, and then the functionality, what you do with the stuff, what assets you create, what you do with things, it's on many parachains that compete with each other or collaborate with each other or both. But the idea is that they can collaborate in any way they want, and any projects that built on one can work on the whole ecosystem and not just in their ecosystem. Today, if you create NFTs on Moonbeam, they have a few hundred, 500,000 NFTs or whatever there. You cannot do anything with them outside the Moonbeam ecosystem. And believe me when I say the current kind of whole blockchain world is very tribalized. You have people who they want people to come to their chain in order for them to pay attention. They will not go. So it's in the interest of all the DApps to find more users by having bigger market, and this is what the interoperability means for me. So it's a big thing. Okay. So moving on from why to the trade-offs. Okay. Let's kind of dive into I have in the presentation itself, I admit that we have made general statements. Let's kind of dive into them a little bit more into
Alex,
details.
Hi, Alex.
Yep.
Sorry
Hector
to
and
interrupt.
Batman want
We
to
have
speak to you.
two
Yeah.
questions. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Hector, go ahead.
Hi, hello, Alex. How you doing? Well, first of all, I wanted to introduce myself since we were already discussing in the chat. I would like to ask you something. I mean, what would be the technical reason why Asset Hub might not support being the reserve of NFTs? Besides the non-fungible transactor is not configured there, but is there more related with sometimes these limitations on submitting changes on the runtime for the Asset Hub, or just because the Asset Hub itself does not contain other functionalities rather than minting an NFT or a fungible asset, right? Because based on the research I did back in 2022 for my Sub-Zero presentation, the Asset Hub can work as the reserve of NFTs, right? And then you can basically make it flow to wherever parachain you want. So technically, the Asset Hub can support NFTs because it comes from already is already included on the XCM B3 protocol, right, to transfer non-fungibles NFTs. However, it's true that it lacks the non-fungible transactor, so there needs to be a change on the runtime for the Asset Hub. But what is the technical limitation, or is more like an ecosystem limitation?
Daniel, can you answer this question? Because and Hector, very nice to meet you. Thank you. Yeah, we chatted there a lot, but we discussed this with Daniel, and he's much better placed to answer that question.
Yeah. Also, if you want to keep your presentation and we leave this for the end, that's okay for me. I mean, I don't want to interrupt the flow of your presentation.
Oh, it stopped already, so let's go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Hector. About the Asset Hub, yeah, sure, it could be reserved location for NFTs. Actually, there is an open PR that adds the adapter for Unix palette, not the palette NFTs, which is the newer version of the Unix palettes, but the adapter for the older version. But yeah, it can be done. However, even in this PR that is open like in the end of December, even in this PR, it is clear that Asset Hub cannot receive foreign NFTs. So it could be a reserved location, of course, but in the future, yeah, not now. But there is no effort to make it capable of receiving foreign NFTs, to create NFT derivatives. So it's kind of one way interaction. So you have only one reserved location, the asset hub, and the NFTs on asset hub, they are in the particular form. Yeah, they created on either in the Unix palette or palette NFTs, but there are different NFT implementations in the ecosystem, like ours, like Icalis, like NFTs based on smart contracts, and so on. And if you want true interoperability, you want to receive NFTs not only from Asset Hub in their particular form, but from other NFT providers, I could say, and from other NFT solutions. So yeah, I think there is no technical limitation to make Asset Hub capable of receiving the foreign NFTs, but you have to develop such a solution. We already done this during the POC. Yeah, we can send our NFTs and receive foreign NFTs. We want to generalize this, and that generalized solution could be used on Asset Hub as well. We just so a lot of work is already done. Yeah, and the configuration of such an adapter, I could say, will be very easy. So yeah, something like that.
Okay, yeah. I think I get it. So if I'm not mistaken, sorry if this becomes too technical, and if it's out of the scope of this Twitter space or X space. But yeah, what I understand is like, if the asset hub works as the reserve for a certain collection and NFT, then I understand like it cannot be given back, right? Or is it because the asset hub as itself is a reserve that it cannot receive, like it cannot like mint derivatives, right? I think that is the reason, but I don't remember if it is in general or not. But anyway, that's maybe it's not like very useful right now to analyze, because I don't see a way, or I don't see a reason why it would be useful, like the asset hub receives, right, derivatives, NFTs. But yeah, I think that maybe if I'm not mistaken, the issue is like as the asset hub is a reserve itself, it cannot receive or it cannot recognize other reserves, correct?
Well, yeah, but there is another consideration to this topic. I mean, when we consider only transfers of NFTs, just like by ID, yeah, without the transfer of metadata or any metadata operations, yeah, we could just mint all of our NFTs in the ecosystem on Asset Hub, and that's it. But you know, for example, our NFTs on the Unique network, they have properties with the authorized access. You can modify some of the properties of the NFT if you're a token owner or if you're a collection owner. So you have rights to do that. And for example, if different chain could like write metadata to our NFT, our chain will do the authorization for that. Yeah, we have that logic. Asset Hub have no such logic. Like it will just serve the right request of metadata, and that's it, without any authorization.
Yeah, I think
But,
here. Yeah, sorry, Daniel.
But I'm
you.
talking about the future work when the metadata operations, XCM metadata operations are in place. But the thing is, different NFT implementations will provide different capabilities for NFTs, and in the future, the ownership of a derivative is a sign that you are owner and you have a right to do with that original some stuff that is special on that particular chain where the original is located. So it could be some special thing that different from the asset.
Okay, yeah, let me jump in here to kind of get things moving forward. So regardless of technical kind of capabilities or limitations, we've discussed the reserve model extensively in the spring with all the core devs. With Gavin was there, Rob was there, and Keith especially, and none of them ever kind of put forward the model of having Asset Hub as the central repository, so to speak. So the model would be different. What the model we propose is many to many. So all parachains to all parachains, and there are no intermediaries. The model where you make Asset Hub Reserve makes it kind of many to one and then one to many. And that is usually an kind of unfavorable design because you put all your eggs in one basket. What if when you have monopolies like that, you get inefficiencies, and a lot of them, and so I am very much against system parachains in general because I hope that they should have very limited purpose and should be kept there. But this model is for me is highly undesirable because I want to work with the productive parachain that can do stuff with my NFTs. I don't want to have an intermediary that can go out of business or that can be too slow to move forward and so on. And Asset Hub is very conservative. It has to be. So, that's why intuitively I think that nobody wants really to have that model. And your question, yeah.
I just want to add to this. If you want, if you want to make Asset Hub as a reserve location for all the NFTs, you have to consider the existing NFTs that are already minted on different parachains, right? And if you want to Asset Hub to serve as a reserve location for the existing NFTs, you need first to transfer the existing NFTs to Asset Hub, and then from Asset Hub to whatever place you want. So
Yep, and that's going to be very expensive and very slow.
Well, and even in that case, you need NFT XCM, and you need to both send NFTs and receive foreign NFTs. So you need all of that. You cannot just mint new NFTs, and only the new NFTs on the Asset Hub can be cross-transferred to another chain. No, we want all NFTs that already exist to be transferable to other chains. So that's the point.
But when you say
okay,
transferable, sorry, when you say transferable, you mean like doing a reserve transfer or a teleport across NFTs?
Reserve-based transfer, yes, because it is the most general case where two communicating parties don't trust each other.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That I agree. It would be exactly the same functioning, right? If you define the NFT on a StayMine. Oh, sorry, on StayMine. Yeah, my bad. On the Asset Hub as the reserve. But however, I agree with you guys that the Asset Hub is not the best place for defining, a very massive NFTs collection. So I'm not like pushing the Asset Hub as the place to be for NFTs, but maybe what I would like to give the feedback is like I think like you are doing a very valid work. Okay, I was there already. Like I did it. I was involved in the research you were doing, so I know very well how it feels to work with XCM and the frustrations on understanding the protocol. So I support the work you're doing. I think like maybe is what it can be leveraged on your proposal is like you are working on defining the standards and the tooling, right, to abstract all the complexity, right, on basically transferring NFTs. That's what I got from the by reading the proposal and also by reading your messages. And also maybe that part I would suggest that it could be like communicated some way in the proposal, because I think that where it very lacks right now, the ecosystem in XCM in general is a standards, right? So the developers don't have to, go to the source code of XCM and understand how the configurations should be done. Like, for example, the asset transactors. I saw myself like understanding the code on the XCM builder to understand how things were basically working. And I think that's just a non-go, okay? My like, instead of maybe, I don't know, saying the asset hub is not the best place, what I think is more important on your proposal is like you will be defining the standards so the other developers don't have to make that job. That would be basically one of the feedbacks based on what you are like describing.
True that, and you have inspired me actually to now kind of try to describe the end state. Okay, today you cannot transfer NFTs from one parachain to another. You have to develop your custom solution, and it's going to be centralized more or less and insecure. I don't consider that kind of an industrial solution. It is, as Jota said, it's not even a dirty road. You have to create kind of, you have to create the road between you and every city you want yourself. Okay, this solves the problem for everybody, and it solves them in such a way that the tools we develop as part of what was, I think, it's milestone 2 or 3, is basically that any web developer, will be able to, with very little time, hours, not weeks, not days, any JavaScript developer, any web developer in the world, and there are millions of them, unlike Substrate developers, there are maybe a couple of thousand, can take and make a solution that works on that moves easily from one parachain to another, does stuff there, comes back, and so on. So your addressable market is every Web2 developer in the world, and you can create the application that does stuff in Polkadot with different parachains with NFTs in hours rather than in months. So that's, the cost goes down from tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to, a few hundred or a few $1,000. That's the thing. And basically, what we will also deliver as part of this is examples of that. So, very quickly you'll have kind of standard wallets will be able to do make this standard functionality, so that millions of NFTs can kind of change hands daily, can drive through daily, and and end users can do that. So that's the kind of that's the vision.
And I think that the vision is very good and it's spot on. Something like maybe I could maybe, I don't know if the word is argue, or at least to see how I mean, yeah, I would basically say like the technology is there already to the parachains to basically transfer NFTs. I mean, XCM B3 supports it, right? All the basically the code is there. The big problem right now is like most of the parachains don't know how to configure it. Okay, and I think that is the opportunity on you guys to solve that issue. I mean, the biggest problem with XCM right now is not that it's not capable to make a certain things like transfer NFTs. It's already in the protocol, right? The problem, I believe, is on sometimes the lack of knowledge or how hard it is for developers to configure properly an XCM, and also how to construct the message. So
there's more. There's more. Yeah, we dug deep into that problem with Keith, who is and the XCM team. There are at least 2 big problems. One we solved already with the RFC we did, and that is asset recovery. what happens if you send an NFT, if you do go through all the hoops and problems that you have now with custom kind of approach they have now, they have enabled now, and you figure that all out, and then you assign two little guests or something like that, and you send the NFT, and it gets trapped because you cannot because you don't have enough of token of the recipient chain in your wallet. Right now, with that with that solution, after going through everything, you get an asset trap. Okay, so we have made a thing that kind of checks for that and does asset recovery. And then there is fee estimation as well. That is the main source of issues within these transfers as well. So there is a lot of work to be done. What they have done is, theoretical kind of very custom, very hard capability, very hard to use capability to do things and do it in a very kind of limited fashion. What we are doing here is a production ready kind of system. So there's a big difference, and you probably understand it. And this discussion has been good because the discussion that I wanted to have is exactly that: trade-offs, alternatives. Okay, so in addition, this is what you're talking about is one potential alternative solution. Okay, there are others we have discussed. So centralized bridge. Yeah, you can use that. But the operator of the bridge can disappear and your NFTs become worthless. So unless there is, a very that's not the point of Web3 to use those kinds of solutions. That's not what Polkadot stands for. As simple as that. As we said, the Asset Hub kind of current proposed solution. It's not even a solution yet. It's proposed solution. It works on unique pilot, which is to be depreciated, not used. Okay, and it is for sending the tokens from created on Asset Hub. So it creates more headache, believe me, than solutions, if you ask me. Because again, you will need millions of dollars to solve for existing NFTs. Millions. That nobody has. So you create exactly this, what socialist government do. You create barriers to trade rather than you create a free trade. Okay. So that's why I say that, Giotto, in my kind of statement, that any alternative solutions have a lower potential for ease of use because it's difficult, for cost because if you do it on Asset Hub, for example, you have to pay in DOT for everything you do, and that's much more expensive than you do it via parachains. Scale, the speed. Asset Hub NFTs palette can do, I don't remember how many, 20 or 30 a minute. We can do 5,000 a minute. Okay, so I don't want them to dictate what we can do. I don't want to move at their speed. I want them to move at our speed. At least I think this is something that community will want as well, that the consumers will want a better product, etc. And two other things. So implementing this solution will not prevent any other alternative to be in use. So it will not centralize anything. It will not lock in anything. And we will not be the owners of it. It's not like we are kind of conquering the world with this. We're not going to take rent from it. It does not bring us any recurring revenue or in any fashion. It's not that we are building another parachain or something. We are not kind of charging any fees. It's the solution that works within each parachain becomes kind of a part of those pallets become part of the kind of the open source repositories of the ecosystem. We'll discuss that in a second, but there is no rent afterwards, and there is no limit to any other alternative solutions. And finally, if things like Spree, that's the technology that was mentioned, and we considered it heavily, we wanted it heavily, but it's in the future. If it happens, actually our NFT XCM will complement it and will accelerate its use. It's not going to kind of be replaced. It will kind of actually improve on that being done. So
because I just want to add about this about Spree modules, because if you have Spree modules, the main thing about Spree that every Spree module has its own XCM endpoint. So Spree modules will communicate with their chains where the particular module was included in via XCM. So I think Spree modules could become reserved locations, like yeah. But again, it is all theoretical. We have a description of Spree modules, but we have no API, no roadmap, or something to work with.
Yeah, as I said, it's a future, and if
Actually,
it works, it works.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I mean, I wouldn't consider a spree because basically it was no effort so far. So I would not rely on a spree, let's say, okay, for the future.
Yep. Well, Giotto said that even theoretical alternatives are to be considered, and we have done that. We actually tried to push to see if that could be done, but it was the same answer back then. There's so far no effort in that direction. So, but anyway, okay. This concludes the kind of the business side of things. The rest of the presentation is about kind of talking about the implementation itself, which we can, I guess, save for another day. I would want to kind of more open the discussion open the floor for discussions and further questions. Hector, are you trying to speak?
No, I was just waiting if any other person here have any questions, because, well, I raised mine already. I have another one, but I would wait if anyone else wants to raise any question. Giotto, maybe you? Anything to ask, to question?
No, I mean, for me, because I think for voters, it's important to have a report that is made by a neutral expert. So it's like, of course, I mean, it's natural, it's human nature, everyone has a bias to the thing they make, it's like every mother thinks their children is the most beautiful, but is it? So I think there needs to be a neutral expert and you are one of them, of course, in collaboration with others, that at the end finalize this to the trade-off. So for example, the trade-off could be Spree is better, but we have to wait 2 years. And it's like it's the ability, it's like there is a saying, I forgot, it's a famous American author that says something like, he writes a letter to his friend, he say, I wanted to write you a short letter, but I didn't have time, so I wrote a long letter. I forgot what's his name, but it's very true. It's like, it's very difficult to synthesize something in a very clear message. So a lot of things are being said, not everything is being understood, some things are opinions. So he said that maybe things as a type should not be there, but I personally, I mean, there is a comment on Twitter where like Alexander is saying, why as a type? And I say, well, for example, I like the fact that the ownership of my house is stored in the land registry that is owned by the government, and it has been there safely for hundreds of years. It may not be efficient, and maybe it takes a month to transcribe 3 words, but it has been there for hundreds of years. So again, this is a trade-off. Maybe I don't want the land registry to be on some startup that is going to be bankrupt in 3 years. So the ability is really to synthesize to the real practical trade-off, and it's kind of what is the most fundamental trade-off. It's not because you can identify 100 trade-off, but there is going to be one that is the most fundamental of all. And I think this is actually a very difficult exercise, and I cannot help you because I will rely on your advice. So you have kind of a sort of responsibility, I guess, in this. But think about it. So what is the most fundamental trade-off? It's like, for example, let's say you a decision is, should we build the hospital or should we build, I don't know, the theater, and it's like, then the fundamental trade-off is, do we value more health or entertainment? So you see, so it's like, can we dig down to what is the most fundamental trade-off? And maybe it's free, can do those things better, but it will take 2 years or 3 years or never happen. Or asset tab is more robust, but it lacks flexibility. So I think the key is to find the most fundamental trade-off and then present it to the voters. And they vote purely on a political preference based on the most, but it's about trying to find the most fundamental one, not any trade-off, the most fundamental one.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's clear what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think it's very clear. As you mentioned, the big complexity on this is to basically translate a very much technical task, right, or proposal in some words that everyone can understand, right?
But let me give you an example. So
yeah,
sorry.
In Polkadot, that's super challenging. I've been trying doing that, and even in Spanish, which is my mother tongue, is hard. So well, I will try to make it the best as I can in English. What I see in this proposal specifically, I went through, the complexity of XCM, and mostly with NFTs, which yet didn't have enough, not interest, but it was not on the priority, right? Because the priority were more on the fungible assets. At the very moment, there are XCM, face a very much hard developer experience on configuring XCM on each parachain, and also on how to use it, how to operate it, right? How to send messages. Right now, for the Polkadot developers interacting with XCM, and to try to go beyond, right, the average use case, which is like doing a reserve transfer, which is mostly, included on the parachain template, that's doable. But when the parachains developers needs to do something that goes beyond on that, it's a super challenging task. So I think it was expressed that as part of the decentralization efforts from Parity, which was one of the main maintainers of XCM, was not the only one, was one of the main maintainers of XCM. I understand all the NFT efforts, right, for the usability perspective on XCM will be transferred to the community. So I think the biggest trade-off in here is, as I mentioned before, is to reduce the complexity. Okay, this proposal would reduce the complexity for developers to implement new use cases for NFTs. Okay, so trade-offs, in my opinion, is show what is good and what is maybe not so good, or what can be concerning. So for me, personally, I support this proposal, because I know the topic is super challenging. There are not much things that has expressed the intention to take the lead on this, and I think that works. Also, the team already developed before submitting the proposal, deliver work and research on this, which I think that's very valuable. It's super different to say I will do this. Okay, I will submit the proposal and see how it goes. So the team already, pushed code, which is the most important part. So maybe there are two things which I believe that should be covered in this proposal. And one thing is that this shouldn't be just developed for unique, for the unique network. So I think that one of the outcomes, right, that would be nice for the whole Polkadot builders community is to build a use case which is generic enough to be implemented in any parachain. So, for example, you might build, a parachain template. You would add the non-fungible transactor on this parachain template, and deploy it on the NXCM emulator. Okay, something which also I didn't read is the support
This is
on this.
this is exactly how the thing is structured. This is the most generic it can get. It covers everything, everybody. And it's not us who doing it. We're doing it for different substrate palettes, but it's actually EVM people who are doing it's other teams who should do the EVM part and the ink part as well. So so it is combining everybody together. Yes, Giotto, you raised your hand. Please go ahead.
No, yeah, I just have a question for Hector. So I want to ask basically, so, but let's look again at the trade-off. So you say this is beneficial for the developer because it makes their life easier. And that's the benefit side. Now, but what is the other side of the trade-off? Is it only money? So we are paying money to make the developer life easier, or it could introduce maybe some kind of technical debt. It could introduce an inferior standard that then could be adopted instead of SPRI, which could be a better standard. So I understand the benefit of improving developer experience, but what do we have on the other side? We have only money, like $1 million or whatever, or we have also maybe potentially introducing technical debt, introducing an inferior standard, or that, you see it? So which one is it on the other side of the trade-off?
Okay, I will answer that from my perspective, not having any personal interest on this, such as the goodwill of the community. So, in my opinion, the only thing I can see right now, is the amount, of course, that has to be spent from the treasury on this, which I will not make any judgment if it is too much or not. What I think, like, I don't see any risk on technical depths here. Either I don't see an inferior standard. I think that SPRI should not be taken into account, so SPRI will not be an option, on my opinion. There were not any efforts on delivering SPRI, and I don't believe that is going to be. Okay, so my intake on this is like, the only trade-off is the money that should be spent, which in my opinion it worth. Okay, because everything that makes XCM easier, okay, is valuable for the ecosystem. So maybe I saw in the, if we need to get back specifics again. So regarding the metadata RPC, I still didn't have clear what would be like kind of the approach. All right, because I saw like in different messages on the forum post that what is going to be updated is the hash on the destination chain based on how it gets changed on the reserve. So being the output of the, or being the deliverable of the proposal, an RFC, maybe I think the proposal should have include like at least the intention of how it's going to be, of the super like initial design. All right, then it was kind of discussed yesterday in a Telegram group. I'm not sure if that is like the RFC, like you can submit now to like a draft or something similar. I don't know if that's the draft like you have ready to push in the few days. So maybe that would be in quotes, right, a risk, because I don't know the output for the RFC metadata. However, I have to say that it's a super complicated topic, all right, to solve. And in my personal opinion, I think it's worth investing money on the team to research that, even if it fails. Okay, because at least I think the team would be able to provide the background of why the technical approach they wanted to implement didn't work. And that's, even if it might be perceived as a failure, is knowledge that can be shared to the next actor that wants to implement it on different way. I don't know if that is within the expectations on the trade-offs to be shared.
Thanks, Hector. And if I may add to that, maybe you want to take a look at the last slide of the presentation, dependencies. Think about and see if there are any things to add to it. But Jota, I have managed software development projects for 25 years, and some very big ones. I know very well that there's always trade-offs. So we looked at that. We looked at the dangers of kind of long-term problems that this may cause. So number one is, again, implementing this does not prevent anything else. It's not a rent-seeking kind of approach. If this is done, nobody else can do anything else. Everybody else can do everything else. That's number one. Number two, as far as long-term kind of effects, the maintenance and stuff that's in that slide, I don't think that kind of is important. Well, that is clear to you. That needs some other people to kind of give their feedback if the list of dependencies and their mitigation strategies are appropriate or not. We have minimized them. We have done all the work that needs to be done on the protocol level, so you don't have to worry about parity accepting this or not accepting this. There are people who are concerned with that, and that is not going to happen at all because we've done all the work with them. And they've accepted the RFC, everything that we need. So everything now stays in the hands of parachains, and they want to have it. The XNFT palette will cover every NFT palette that's in the Polkadot ecosystem that is known today. If others want to have something very special, we can probably generalize it to their level or not. If something very specific comes about, they can always kind of cover the cost of that work if needed and so on. But what's existing in the ecosystem today is covered. The maintenance approach, this is something that can easily go into ORML or even in the Polkadot SDK repo if we wanted to. That is, it will not be maintained exclusively by unique network. It will be just like ORML, many palettes there. Many people kind of contribute to maintenance of palettes that are in there. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but the idea is, somebody in the ecosystem produced a code that a few parachains use. And then there is a general repository of those, and then anybody. We often Akala does most of the work there, but it's not always them. We do some of the work there, for instance, because we want to upgrade things faster on our chain and so on. So, and in any case, these upgrades are small, and maintenance cost and overhead is going to be very small because at the end of the day, these are not big pieces of software. We'll have a lot of tests in there that will make things very easy for people to make sure that things work ahead of on every upgrade. So, it is a very grown-up and mature software organization that we have built that is building this. So as a trade-off, again, I would encourage you ask the same question to other experts to help you understand it and kind of have so that voters can have objective opinions. We have listed things that we worried about in the dependency slide.
Okay, yeah, that is fair. That is basically, I mean, as a trade-off was like requested. Okay, I just mention why I think this is needed, and why this would add a lot of value to the Polkadot development community, which in the end is basically benefiting all the the Polkadot community in general, because developer experience is, I would say, on the top 3 of the main issues on Polkadot. Okay, and whatever it can be done to solve that, I think it works a lot. Okay, about ORML, I would just like to say that it's very good. That ORML, that this will be included in ORML, I would try to push it on the Polkadot SDK if the fellowship of Parity would allow it, okay? Because I don't know how many teams are starting or bootstrapping a parachain with ORML nowadays. In the last, I was doing the Software Builders Program review at Parity, and in the last year, almost all the parachains I saw starting, were using Frame, not ORML. So basically, that would be my technical input, right, or my technical feedback. I think like this should, if this becomes like a very usable tooling at the palette level, right? I'm not talking about the smart contracts. That's more flexible. But in terms of a palette development, I think that, it should cover Frame and ORML, as you mentioned, and it would be great that this is part of the Polkadot SDK. That's at least my input, right? If then, for whatever reason, like, I don't know, fellowship or Parity do not allow to get the palettes merged, because they say like it's out of the scope, then I think that's fine, okay? And we could just like get the Frame palette from any other like repository, okay, as for example Unix one or like X NFT repository, wherever. But yeah, that would be my feedback. All right. On the trade-off, yes, I just mentioned what I think that is very good, and also what are like kind of the risks I see. All right, because of course this is what it was requested. So anyway, guys, I wish you the best for the proposal, and I hope like we can keep progressing on the usability issues with the developer experience, right, on Polkadot, and keep making it.
Thank you, Hector. Does anybody else want to ask more questions or make any comments? Or we are to wrap things up, I guess. If there are no more comments, I'm not seeing anybody raising hands, which is usually the way to ask questions. Charu, you don't see them either, I guess?
Yeah, there is a request, and Dustin, here you go.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hey, Alex. Hey, Charter.
Hey, Dustin.
Hey, so just kind of a question about paying some homage on, Substrate Punks or Cello Bricks. Be interesting to see some more integrations with these projects. Is this part of the landscape that's being built?
What do you mean?
Well, will they be integrated in some fashion with Asset Hub or future use cases?
Well, what this will allow to do is to actually take them there. So, so that you can actually do something with them there. That's what this will do to that. I wouldn't kind of, I don't have any ideas on top of my head about kind of doing exactly that, but it will allow anybody to do that actually, because you can create, you will be able to move them there, and not only to Asset Hub, but to any parachain.
Amazing. Yeah, I would like to see some more maybe IP rights around these particular projects. Because real world assets are very important for the future of NFTs, I feel like, or in general in the hybrid asset space. And I feel like personally, I would like to have like some type of Substrate Punk, officially from Unique, some type of hybrid asset.
Have you? I don't know if you noticed. I don't think anybody bothered to watch the video of the first NFT XCM transfer, which Brian Chang did. He took actually, I don't know if you know that Substrapunks were first collection, Celebric was the second, and then what we did is we did a collection of Polkadot Kings and Queens, which was for ambassadors, for long-term ambassadors of Polkadot, that were that were actually Celebrics. And those were given on Polkadot Decoded, I think in 2022 or 21. I forgot it. 2022. 21, there was nothing. There was a pandemic. So that was actually the first NFT to move to Akala. It was Brian Cheng's kind of Celebric Polkadot King that moved there. So now he can move his main badge to his home. It was a symbolic gesture.
Interesting. Yeah, I was also given one of those ambassador NFTs. I would hope to see more life to it. And then also, yeah, of course, Substrapunks and first NFT, if you guys don't know, in the Kusama ecosystem. That was part of the hackathon, right? And then Celebrix was the second project, which I have a very deep passion for your guys' project, and I will always be a part of your guys' community. So, and I got that bag, Charu, you gave me with the Celebrix.
We've got more for you, Dustin.
Yeah, we have funny T-shirts on that too. Thanks, Dustin. Alrighty. Anybody else you see, Charu? Raising hands. I don't see anybody. That's why I'm asking you.
No, not anymore.
Okay. Then thank you, everybody. Hope we will continue to support any kind of questions and everything in Polka Assembly comment section, and there is a kind of special group in Telegram for experts kind of views and that and so on. So, and anywhere basically in our channels and so on. We hope that the word of this will spread out and that we will kind of continue work on it. Also, Hector, you mentioned the work on that, not to forget to comment on that, the work on for the idea of what the metadata RFC can be. Daniil actually, he has a clear picture of what that should be. I was reluctant to kind of have that being done now because it's going to open the can of worms. It's going to, once you start doing that stuff, people are going to start picking up on it. And if it's any good, if it's any interesting, whether it's good or bad actually doesn't matter. It's sometimes usually better if it's bad because people won't react to it. It's going to interfere with the project schedule. But Daniil said, I have a good picture what it should be, so I need a day to do it, a full working day to do it. And he had only a few hours, so he wants to concentrate on it. But we will certainly start that. There's a whole kind of section of the proposal on that. And when is the good time to start doing that is, it's a tricky kind of trade-off. We'll try to do it now. So with that, I would want to conclude if there are no more questions. Questions 1, questions 2, questions 3, and go. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening in. Stay in touch. Have a good night. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.